President Trump orders the Commerce Department to conduct a new census without counting illegal immigrants. The FBI director has agreed to track down Texas House Democrats who have fled the state to stop a vote. The New Zealand Air Force conducts a daring mission in Antarctica to rescue 3 Americans. Those stories and much, much more in today's episode of the Flyover Podcast. First, though, today's tough trivia question: what was the first film ever screened at a drive-in theater? $1 million Flyover bucks if you know this one.
Welcome to the Flyover Podcast, taking you above the noise for an unbiased, high-altitude view of today's headlines with daily coverage that's honest and refreshing. Let's cruise the news and land the facts.
Good morning and welcome to the Flyover Podcast. I'm Christopher Lyon. I'm one of the editors for the Flyover email newsletters. Ayla Brown is off again today, but she will be back on Monday. Once again, if you're watching this on video and don't see me, we should both be grateful. Today's podcast is audio only. Amy Hess will be in later on camera with another episode of the Feel Good Flyover Podcast. Let's get started with our top stories. President Trump has ordered the Commerce Department to begin work on a new U.S. census that excludes illegal immigrants. The president argues that the census should reflect modern population data and incorporate insights from the 2024 election. Trump made a similar attempt during his first term. It was blocked by the Supreme Court in 2019. The U.S. Census, which is mandated every 10 years by law, historically counts all residents regardless of immigration status. This directive could significantly impact how congressional seats and federal funding are distributed. Next, Senator John Cornyn announced that FBI Director Kash Patel has agreed to help track down Texas Democrats who fled the state to block a redistricting plan that could give Republicans 5 more congressional seats. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has ordered civil arrests and filed a lawsuit to remove Representative Jean Wu, one of the Democratic leaders. In addition, Cornyn has accused those who fled of potential bribery for accepting travel funds from various groups, including Beto O'Rourke's Political Action Committee. Each Democrat is facing a $500 fine for every day they're absent. The group, many of whom fled to Illinois, are labeling the federal involvement as an authoritarian overreach. And in a story of international cooperation and heroism, 3 Americans in dire health circumstances were evacuated from McMurdo Station in Antarctica in a daring 20-hour rescue mission led by New Zealand's Air Force. One patient needed urgent care and 2 others required treatment unavailable at the remote U.S. military-supported research base. With the clock ticking, the U.S. requested help from New Zealand's government. Facing 24-hour darkness, temperatures as low as minus 11 degrees, and no backup landing options, a C-130J Hercules aircraft made the trip from New Zealand with a doctor on board. They landed on a hand-groomed ice runway using night vision goggles and refueled without shutting off engines. The mission was successful, and all 3 Americans are now receiving care in Christchurch, the closest major medical hub. And now for our podcast extras. These are the stories available exclusively on the podcast and not included in the Flyover email, which means they're just for you. Republican Senator Bill Cassidy and Democratic Senator Tim Kaine are proposing a $1.5 trillion plan to help keep Social Security afloat by pumping $300 billion a year for each of the next 5 years into a new investment fund, which would be given 70 years to grow. The idea is to keep the earnings from stocks and bonds in escrow to help pay benefits later instead of raising taxes or cutting payouts. The plan is getting attention for being bold and bipartisan, but some experts say it's risky and doesn't fix the short-term crunch. Next, researchers have discovered that Google's MedGemini healthcare AI just made up a brain structure called the basilar ganglia in a 2024 research paper. It's something that simply does not exist in human anatomy, and nobody caught it for over a year. While Google quietly edited a blog post about it, the original paper still has not been corrected, raising red flags about how easily AI can hallucinate in high-stakes fields like medicine. Experts are calling it a dangerous miss and a clear sign that this tech needs much tighter guardrails before it goes mainstream in healthcare. Finally, after 12 years of digging, figuratively and almost literally, Welsh IT worker James Howells is giving up the fight to recover a hard drive containing a digital wallet with 8,000 bitcoins on it. The bitcoins would now be worth about $790 million. Howells' ex-girlfriend accidentally tossed the drive in the trash back in 2013. Howells, who lives in Newport in Wales, had attempted to purchase the site of the landfill where the hard drive ended up, leading to a legal fight with the Newport City Council. Although he has given up the attempt to dig up the missing hard drive, the council says that Howells still owes them $150,000 to cover their legal expenses. Howells is attempting to move on. He recently launched a new crypto of his own to try to regain some of his lost fortune. Moving on to politics. The White House indicated on Thursday that President Trump is open to meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin without Ukrainian President Zelensky present. Also, Trump signed an executive order targeting bank discrimination against conservative groups, directing regulators to investigate and penalize politicized or unlawful debanking. And Stephen Mirren, chairman of the Council of Economic Advisors, has been appointed by President Trump to fill the just vacated seat on the Federal Reserve Board. Mirren's term will run until January 31, 2026. And now for a special offer from the Flyover. The Flyover is more than a media brand. It's a movement to restore trust in journalism. With over 2.6 million readers and climbing, we're showing that there's a growing demand for news that's clear, honest, and grounded in Middle America, not Manhattan boardrooms. You already know what sets us apart. You've tuned in. You've read along. You've shared our stories. And now, for the first time, you can invest in the very platform you've helped to build. Unlike most early-stage media ventures, we're not running on promises. We're already pulling in more than $500,000 a month. That's not a pitch, that's our proof. And we're just getting started with bold plans for growth, new product lines, and strategic partnerships. This isn't another tech play or corporate media deal. It's grassroots. It's reader-backed. Built from the ground up for people who want better news and a better country. Help shape the future of media. Invest where truth matters and where you have a stake in the story. Go to invest.jointheflyover.com to learn more. In making an investment decision, investors must rely on their own examination of the issuer and the terms of the offering, including the merits and risks involved. The Flyover has filed a Form C with the Securities and Exchange Commission in connection with its offering, a copy of which may be obtained at invest.jointheflyover.com. Next, a few sports items. The NFL preseason opened Thursday night already, and a full slate of games is scheduled through the weekend. In baseball, umpire Jen Powell was chosen to work this weekend series between the Atlanta Braves and Miami Marlins. It's the first time a woman has ever umpired a Major League Baseball game. In college basketball, a judge in North Carolina dismissed a lawsuit from North Carolina State's 1983 national championship-winning basketball team. The lawsuit argued that the former player should be entitled to NIL compensation from the NCAA. And finally, President Trump announced that he will serve as the chairman for his newly established 2028 Olympic Games Task Force. Now let's check the markets for yesterday. The Nasdaq rose 0.35%, the S&P 500 dipped 0.08%, and the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 0.51%. Meanwhile, Bitcoin jumped up 2.84% to reach $117,380. And gold just kept going, jumping 2.72% to a mark of $3,471.10 per ounce. Dutch Bros, the popular coffee chain, provided your big stock move of the day, with shares surging 21% after reporting a 28% increase in revenue during the second quarter. In other business news, President Trump said he plans to impose a 100% tariff on semiconductors and chips unless companies are manufacturing them in the United States. Intel CEO Lip Bhutan is facing calls to resign from President Trump, who said Tan should quit because he was, quote, highly conflicted, unquote, over ties to Chinese companies. Intel stock dropped 3% following Trump's social media post. And finally, the tech giants are lining up to give major discounts to the federal government, including Amazon offering the government up to $1 billion in savings for its cloud services, and OpenAI saying it will license ChatGPT to federal agencies for $1 per year. And now for some science. A team of European researchers has designed a ship called the Chrysalis. It's a 36-mile-long, multi-generational spacecraft concept intended to carry 2,400 people on a 400-year journey to Proxima Centauri b, an Earth-sized exoplanet believed to be potentially habitable. Next, in troubling AI news, a new study found ChatGPT gave harmful advice in over half of 1,200 test prompts from researchers posing as teenagers, including instructions on drug use, self-harm, and even suicide. Finally, a man fishing in a river in Poland was surprised to reel in a 700-year-old medieval sword, believed to date back to the founding of Warsaw in the early 1300s. You can see the sword for yourself at the link in the show notes. That brings us to our etc. section. It is packed today with stories that did not fit anywhere else, but we think you'll want to hear. Starting with a truly troubling story, Smoothie King and Heinz have teamed up to launch what they call the first ever ketchup-based smoothie, blending Heinz Simply Tomato Ketchup with acai sorbet, apple juice, strawberries, and raspberries. I think that would only work for me as a diet smoothie. In other news, a 29-year-old woman was arrested in Florida after allegedly posing as a nurse, using fake credentials to treat more than 4,000 patients. A 7-month investigation resulted in 14 felony charges. Italy has approved a $15.5 billion project to build the world's longest suspension bridge, linking the mainland to Sicily with a 2.2-mile span. You can see a rendering of the bridge also in the show notes. And in celebrity news, actor Dean Cain, known for playing Superman many years ago in Lois and Clark: The New Adventures of Superman, said he will join Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE. He said it's just the right thing to do. And professional wrestler and action movie star John Cena was very open with People magazine, saying that a hair transplant last year changed the course of his life by helping to extend his acting career. Now we arrive at the poll. Yesterday we asked you, do you take a daily multivitamin pill? 61% of you, along with readers from the Flyover email, said yes. 33% said no. And 6% of you paused for just a moment and said, maybe I should. Today's poll question should maybe come with a content warning because it's making me squeamish. Inspired by the earlier story about Smoothie King teaming up with Heinz to offer a ketchup-based smoothie, our poll writer wants to know, which condiment-based smoothie would you prefer? Your upsetting options are ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, barbecue sauce, ranch dressing, or, if you think about it, condiments are smoothies. We really cannot wait to see the results for this one. And now we've nearly reached the end of the podcast. All that's left is to reveal the answer to today's trivia question. At the top of the show, we asked what was the first film ever screened at a drive-in theater. I'd honestly be shocked if anyone knew this one, but the history is fascinating. The movie was a comedy called Wives Beware. The year was 1933. The place was Camden, New Jersey, where aspiring businessman Richard Hollingshead Jr. had an idea to use his driveway to screen a movie for people in their cars. It caught on. Have you ever been to a drive-in movie? Did you see any memorable films on a summer night under the stars? Please tell us about it in the comments or an email. Also, feel free to enlighten us about why any sane and healthy person might agree to drink a ketchup smoothie. That's all for today's Flyover Podcast. Thanks for flying with us. We know you have a choice in news podcasts, and we're glad you chose ours. Remember to subscribe, give us all the stars, and tell everyone in all your Facebook groups about us. Amy Hass will be back on camera today with the Feel Good Flyover Podcast. She will also catch you up with the day's news on Saturday and Sunday, and then Ayla Brown will be back next week.